You know, this whole topic can be a major headache for some people, while for others, it's like hitting the jackpot. We've got to wrap our heads around this idea. Everything that shows up in our lives, we kinda magnetize it. Yep, we pull it in like a magnet. And why? Because we're vibing on the same wavelength as whatever it is. Pause for a second and think about this. Imagine a crisp $100 bill. Most people? They aren't vibing with money. They're really not. The average person just grinds through life, and they've watched their parents do the same, rinse and repeat. And let's be real, school doesn't exactly give us a course on how to stack cash. Most people are totally confused about money because, let's face it, they don't get how it works. We're all brought up to think you go to work, and that's how you earn money. Just show up, do the thing, get paid. But here's the kicker, simply clocking in isn't the secret sauce to making bank. Seriously, if you've ever wondered about this, think of someone busting their butt with hard work. I picture some guy down in, say, a super hot part of the world, maybe it's over 100 degrees out, and he's out there on the road, jackhammer in hand, breaking up concrete. Sounds rough, right? But do these folks rake in the big bucks? Not so much. And that's about as tough a gig as you can imagine. But here's the thing, you make money by providing value, not by just working hard. Think about those big name recording artists. They pull in millions, literal millions, and they're not exactly busting a sweat. They're just jamming, having fun, performing on stage, and their records are playing all over the place. People love their music, and that's why they're rolling in dough. It's all about offering something people want. So, what do we need to dig into? We need to dive into our attitudes, the laws that run the show, and how we're aligning ourselves with them. Let's take a good look today. Here's what I want you to chew on. Think about the parts of your life where your habits, or paradigms, if we want to sound fancy, have a grip on things. Your habits shape how you see the world, and your viewpoint is your reality. That's how you experience life. Wayne Dyer, one of our late, great friends, rest his soul, nailed it when he said, when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. And he's spot on. That's your perspective doing its magic. Perspective is one of those higher level skills, like imagination, memory, reasoning, intuition. These are what set us apart from the rest of the animal kingdom. They operate on instincts, which are pretty flawless. But we've got these next level tools, and if we use them right, we can shape our entire existence. Now, your perspective, that's how you see things, decides your reality. But here's the catch, your habits, your paradigms, are what shape that perspective. Let's break this down further. Your habits control how you use your time. We all get the same 24 hours in a day, it's how we use that time that sets us apart. Your paradigms also steer your creativity. Think about this for a second. When I was a kid in school, I went to this public school in Toronto. By grade 8, I was getting ready to move on to high school. My teacher, Miss Strun, a really nice lady, asked me where I was planning to go next. I said I'd go to Malvern Collegiate. She was like, "Oh, Bob, don't do that. You'll never make it in the business world. Go to Danfo Tech and learn a trade." I mean, at the time, I thought she knew everything, like she was a human Wikipedia or something. So, I went to Danfo Tech. I was there for less than a month when I had this accident. I jammed my thumb into a bandsaw and nearly sliced the end off. They sewed it back on, but even now, decades later, it still aches in the cold. So yeah, Miss Strun was way off the mark. She had a position of authority, and I let her sway my decisions. But guess what? I turned out to be pretty darn creative. I've done pretty well in the business world, helped some of the biggest companies rake in millions, even hundreds of millions. No joke, I've worked all over the globe. She couldn't have been more wrong. I spent years, until I was 26, just banging my head against a wall, trying to figure it all out. But you're naturally creative. We all are. Nobody's got a monopoly on creativity, some people just tap into it more than others. It's all about tapping into what's already there. Your effectiveness, that's also hugely shaped by your paradigms, how effective you are at whatever you do. See, your paradigm is like the software that runs your behavior, and your behavior dictates how effective you are. As you level up your effectiveness, your productivity goes through the roof. And guess what? That's all controlled by those paradigms again. This stuff shapes everything, your attitude, your logic, all of it. That's why people thought the Wright brothers were nuts. Two bike mechanics wanting to fly? The US government had poured millions into trying to get a plane off the ground and couldn't do it. Everyone thought it was impossible. But these Wright brothers, they followed natural laws, held a clear vision in their heads, saying, "I see it, brother, I see it." They didn't let traditional logic hold them back. You often hear people saying, "You've got to be realistic, or you've got to be logical." That's nonsense. You don't have to be logical at all. I've been totally illogical many times, and guess what? It's helped me make a lot of money and have a blast doing it. You've got to break free from that mindset. And here's a biggie, your paradigm controls your ability to make money. One of the first questions I ask someone when I start working with them is, "What's the most you've ever made in a year?" I'm not asking because I care about the number itself. I want to know because it tells me where their money mindset is set. Your income is just a reflection of your own internal set points. If you want to change your income, you've got to change those internal settings, your paradigms. And whether you buy into this or not, it's still true. I've been studying this stuff hardcore for over 60 years, learning from some of the sharpest minds out there. And it's almost like there's this invisible box around all these aspects of our lives. Every time we try to push past it, we hit a wall and bounce back. But here's the trick, when you decide to change a paradigm, just making that decision can bring the walls down. That doesn't mean you've changed everything yet, but suddenly, you're not hitting a wall every time you try to move in a new direction. Think about this for a moment. I want you to really imagine this. Imagine how different your life could look as you start making improvements in any or all of these areas. The shift could be massive. And the best part? The change could be permanent. That's a pretty sweet deal, right? When my friend Ray gave me this book and got me into studying it, my income started climbing, and it's never looked back. Sure, I've made mistakes and lost some along the way, but I just kept pushing forward. The change was huge, and it stuck. It's like the universe is saying, once you go up, there's no going back. And I'm not talking physically here, I mean mentally. Once you become aware, you can't unsee what you've seen. Once you know how money is made, that knowledge is yours forever. Once you understand what wealthy people know, no one can take that from you. Now, think about this, this is crucial. If you could just shift your perspective and really work on that, how might things look different? Here's a little exercise for you. If I'm facing a particular challenge and I'm stuck, I'll grab a pen and a pad and write down the problem as clearly as I can. Then I'll put that piece of paper in the middle of my desk and move to another seat. I'll ask myself, how would Earl Nightingale look at this? And I'll try to see it from his perspective. Then, I might shift seats again and ask, how would Napoleon Hill view this? What I'm doing is changing my perspective on the problem. And you know what? Usually, when I change my perspective, the problem just fades away, and that's when my income starts to climb. Napoleon Hill, another one of those smart cookies, talks about getting into the big money. He compares it to a river, one side flowing towards poverty and the other towards prosperity. If you find yourself on the side leading to poverty, he suggests using this concept as an oar to paddle your way over to the side leading to wealth and all the good stuff in life. It all boils down to your attitude, your perspective, and how you see things. That's the ticket to getting into the big money. But remember, big is a relative term. If you're making $100,000 and jump to $300,000, that's a big leap. If you're at $20,000 and go to $60,000, that's also a huge jump. It's not about the actual numbers but how you perceive them. Let's think about this a bit more. Picture each idea or goal you have as a different level of vibration. We could call these vibrations frequencies. Your phone operates on a frequency, right? Everyone's does. When you're on the same frequency as someone else, you're in sync, and that's when the magic happens, communication is clear, things flow. The same goes for your goals. Everything you want has its own frequency, too. And if you can tune into that frequency, it starts to come your way. Today, we're diving deep into this idea, especially when it comes to money. Who doesn't want to attract more of that, right? But keep this in mind, your current results, your income, your sales, whatever it is, are just a reflection of the frequency you're on. But here's the good news, we can change that frequency. You can, I can, anyone can. A lot of people have a hard time looking forward, they're stuck looking back, like that old saying, you can't connect the dots looking forward, you can only connect them looking back. But energy attracts like energy. So, what kind of vibe are you putting out there? What kind of frequency are you operating on? I really want you to play around with this idea. Think about it because you have the power to make anything happen. Decide to align yourself with what you want, and stop listening to people who tell you it's impossible, that you're just dreaming, or that you're crazy. You don't have to be realistic or logical. No, you don't. The Wright brothers weren't realistic. Sir Edmund Hillary wasn't being realistic when he climbed Everest. Edison wasn't thinking small when he lit up the world. If you can see it in your mind, you can hold it in your hand, and that's what we're talking about here. Everything works by certain laws, you know? So, here's the deal. You've got your thinking brain, and what we're aiming for in this session, from Monday to Friday, is to help you craft a new vision of yourself. Now, don't get me wrong, this doesn't mean you're not already doing all right. It just means you're about to do even better. That's the whole point. I want you to picture yourself in your mind's eye doing what you actually want to do. Make a choice, right here, right now. But keep in mind, our senses are going to get overloaded with stuff, and bam, negativity will come crashing in. Why? Because we're drawing it in with this new image we're creating. We've got to block that out. How do you do it? Simple, make a choice. When you decide, you shut that negativity out of your brain, and then you let yourself really connect emotionally with this new picture. Think about it for a second. You're cooking up an idea in your mind, and you're letting yourself get all into it emotionally. That's kind of what actors do, right? They get a script, read it, then read it again. They memorize it, internalize it, and eventually, they become one with that character. That's exactly what we're talking about here, becoming one with what you really want. When you get into this groove, things start to change. All the negativity that was hanging around yesterday? Poof, it's out of here. Now, is it really gone forever? Not quite. Like Wernher von Braun said, nothing ever disappears without a trace. But it stops having power over us. We're flipping the script, taking control of our minds, and steering ourselves towards what we actually want. Here's something to keep in mind, you need to understand what attitude is all about. You've got to have an attitude of gratitude and start seeing yourself as someone who's already wealthy. A prosperity mindset should be your default mode. When this energy flows into you, you start thinking, like, literally creating thoughts or picking them up from around you. This energy flows into your conscious mind, and that's when the wheels start turning. You use your imagination or your reasoning skills and start choosing your thoughts. When we do that, we press those thoughts into our subconscious mind and also send them out into the universe. And here's where it gets interesting. Whatever you throw out into the universe, it boomerangs back to you. That's how the law of attraction works. Stay with me here, this is crucial. Those feelings you send out get expressed through your body, and you also send them off into the universe. Sometimes, you can pick up on someone else's vibe. You're with someone, and something awesome has happened to them. You can just feel it. They don't even have to say much, and you're already riding that wave of good vibes with them. Since those feelings got into your body expresses them in action, which then produces the results you see. It's like, 1, 2, 3, thoughts, feelings, actions. That's what leads to the outcomes you're getting. Your attitude is this mix of thoughts, feelings, and actions. You want to cultivate an attitude of abundance. Start picturing yourself having what you truly want. Picture yourself enjoying the good stuff you desire. Build that mental image and let yourself really feel it. That's how desire is born. Desire is just an idea planted in your subconscious mind that you keep feeding until it grows. Wattles put it nicely, saying that desire is like the effort of an unexpressed possibility within you, seeking a way to come out through your actions. That's how desire works. Now, let's talk about going after what you want. We want you to chase a big goal, especially financially. Think of it like this, get up on the high wire, don't mess around with the low stuff. You've got to make a firm decision, a committed one. Then, you need to discipline yourself, that means giving yourself a command and sticking to it. You decide, and then you discipline yourself to follow through. Get it? All of this is happening in the mind. The mind is what sets you apart from every other living thing. You're a unique expression of infinite power. And when we talk about money, there's an endless supply out there, and it's the most precise way to measure results. You can track money down to the last cent. You can go to a doctor to see if you're in good health, and they might say, you're in perfect shape. But how many times have people walked out of a doctor's office only to have something serious happen shortly after? Turns out, health isn't something you can measure super accurately. But money? Money is precise. You know exactly where you stand with it. So if your income isn't going up consistently, if it's not just steadily growing, it means you're not quite aligned with the laws, you're not quite getting it. This is where Buckminster Fuller's idea comes into play. He said, you never change things by fighting the existing reality. To change something, build a new model that makes the old model obsolete. That's what we want you to do, build a new model that makes the current one outdated. In other words, manage the flow of your thought energy, let it flow freely through you, and improve everything it touches. You can apply this concept directly to money. That's what we're diving into today. And sure, people say, money isn't everything, and I've never claimed it is. But here's something super important. Think about this, you're a mass of energy, and you function at a certain frequency, okay? Look at it this way, everything around us is energy. This, too, is energy. If you can get on the same frequency as what you want, you can't help but draw it to you. Remember what he said? When the money starts rolling in, it comes so fast and furiously you'll wonder where it was hiding during all those lean years. And he's right. Most people just don't get that. They think they've got to work harder, put in more hours. Wrong approach. Einstein dropped some wisdom on us, too. He said the intuitive mind, that's those higher faculties, is a sacred gift. The rational mind, our senses, is like a loyal servant. We've created a society that honors the servant but has forgotten the gift. Well, we're gonna start using those higher faculties now. That's how you create wealth. I mentioned this yesterday, and I'm gonna bring it up again today. I want you to get this down, write it out, and keep repeating it to yourself. Genevieve Barron, a student of Thomas Troward, is a prime example. Troward was one of the greatest thinkers in the last 500 years. I keep one of his books on my desk, and I read the same 2 pages every day. Genevieve was Troward's only student. She had to manifest $20,000 back in 1912 just to go and study with him. And it was through practicing what I'm showing you here that she managed to do it. Now, I'm not saying you're going to get this overnight. You've got to keep revisiting it, reading it again and again. My mind is a center of divine operation. What does that even mean? Let's break it down. Think of it like this, everything has a center. If I have a basketball, there's a point inside that's the exact center, determined by the outside edges of the ball. Same with this room, there's a center point, determined by the room's dimensions. But when you're talking about the divine or the universe, there's no external boundary. You're talking about infinity. And in an infinite universe, any point is the center. So, your mind is a center of divine operation, just like mine, just like your neighbor's. The universe, or divine operation, is always expanding, always seeking fuller expression. It's always about producing something beyond what's gone before. This isn't about repeating the same old thing. We're headed somewhere new, somewhere we haven't been before. Remember when I talked about the X out there? That X is a place. If your imagination takes you there, you're there. It's a real place, and you can grow into it. This is about creating something completely new, something not included in your past experience, even though it's coming out of your past in a logical sequence of growth. And here's the kicker, everything that's happened to you so far, every good moment, every tough time, has been necessary to get you to where you are now. All of it was needed to build the awareness you currently have. So, this new thing you're creating? It's not from your past, but it's built upon it in a steady growth process. That's some powerful stuff. Now, because the divine nature can't change its fundamental essence, it's gotta operate in the same way in me, in you, in everyone. So, in my world, of which I am the center, it's always moving me forward to produce new conditions that are better than anything that's come before, if I'm in sync with this power. I'd recommend jotting this down. It might feel like it's over your head right now, but with time and practice, it'll feel as close as your own breath. Trust me on this, I've been working with these ideas for many years. One of the key laws here is the law of compensation. Your income is governed by this law, and it's not something you can change. The law of compensation is pretty straightforward. It says the amount of money you earn will always be directly related to 3 things: the need for what you do, your ability to do it, and the difficulty there is in replacing you. Pay close attention to those 3 factors. I gotta say, I feel pretty lucky. When I first read about this, I couldn't stop reading, and I'm still reading about it. Back when I was living in England, I was making good money and running a company with operations in 7 different cities across Canada, the US, and England. But I left all that and took a job for $18,000 a year just to work with Earl Nightingale. Everyone thought I was nuts. But deep down, I knew it was the right move. I was following my feelings, which, by the way, are just a conscious awareness of your vibration. Looking back, I think I was being guided. I really do. Because now, I'm in an industry that I believe is the highest paying in the world. Sure, there are people out there making more than me, but you know what? When we really get into this mindset and start doing the work, guess what? We're gonna start making more money. Why? Well, first off, It's because of the demand for what we do. You know what I've picked up over the last 60 years? What we're doing here, people need it everywhere. I've been to Kota Kinabalu, which used to be part of Borneo, on the coast of Malaysia. I've been down to Buenos Aires, hung out in Shanghai, wandered around New York, London, and Dusseldorf. You name it, I've probably been there. And everywhere I go, there's a demand for what we're offering. You need this stuff. Maybe you don't realize it yet, but trust me, you do. You need to understand what makes you tick and how to push yourself forward. That's the first thing, the need for what you do. The second is your ability to do it. And the third is how tough it would be to replace you. Now, here's something Earl Nightingale taught me that really stuck. He said, Bob, just focus on the second part, your ability to do what you do. He called this the formula. I remember he even had this little sticker that said the formula on it, which he stuck on things. For him, the law of compensation was the formula. Basically, if I keep improving at what I'm doing, I become harder to replace. And those people who are hard to replace? Their value goes up, just like that. Think about a waiter in a fast food joint. There's not a huge need for them compared to what we're doing here. In fact, I don't think there's a greater need for anything more than what we're doing. So, as Earl used to say, Bob, just put your energy into what you're doing. He used to tell me I was a pretty good student because I was always asking about books. Actually, I got the idea of using a book holder from him because he had one on his desk. Look at this, it's a book holder, it holds a book open, right there on your desk. I asked him why he had that, and he said it was because he wanted to read those pages every day, maybe for 3 months, maybe for 6. I asked, why are you doing that? And he replied, repetition. You've got to drill it into your subconscious. I knew that already, but I started to really appreciate what he meant. He said, if you study this every day, and I study it every day, you're going to keep getting better. And you know what? I kept getting better at it, and because of that, I kept earning more. Look, everyone wants freedom. We all want freedom, freedom of time and money. You'd be surprised how much free time you get when you don't have to worry about money anymore. I often chat about this with Sandy, my business partner. We have some deep conversations about it. And because we're both focused on it, and we've got the whole company thinking the same way, I also talk to Mikey, Arash, and various others in the company about it. It's fun talking about this stuff because we're living it, and it's so on point. Alright, here's the deal, there are 3 main ways to earn income, just 3. M1, M2, and M3. If you're interested in teaching your kids how to make money, and let's be real, you should be, because schools definitely aren't covering this, you've got to focus on this. I think about my own grandson. Honestly, I was a bit worried because he seemed to be jumping between odd jobs that didn't pay much. I thought, this kid needs a wake-up call. But then I found out he bought himself a business, and it's starting to take off. He's getting a solid education in entrepreneurship, and I couldn't be happier for him. So, I keep checking in on him. How's it going? Need any help? I want him to stay laser focused on M3. And if you're not on M3 yet, you gotta get on it. Now, listen up, this part is crucial. M1 is the worst strategy in the world, but guess what? It's what 96% of people are doing. They're following a strategy that doesn't work. It has a built-in problem, you trade time for money. The issue here is that you eventually run out of time. Doesn't matter how much you charge per hour, the problem is you hit a limit. You run out of time. M2 is a better strategy, but only 3% of people use it, and there's a good reason for that. It's all about investing money to make more money. But here's the catch, you need to have money to invest in the first place. So, what happens? The folks stuck in M1 hear about M2 and think, wow, I'd love to do that. I don't even have to work, and the money just makes more money. So, they scrape together a bit from their earnings, which is tough, and save it up, skipping on the car they want or the house they'd love, all for the sake of this future dream. But then, they invest a little, don't know what they're doing, and lose it all. With M2, you really need to know your stuff. And if you don't, you need to get some solid advice. Now, M3, that's something I stumbled upon way back in the 60s. Only 1% of the population uses M3, but they earn 96% of all the money that's being made. I'm telling you, when I got into M3, it was like money just started pouring in from every direction. I couldn't believe how easy and straightforward it was. Before that, I'd been working my tail off, and suddenly, things just clicked. I had no clue what I was doing, but I became what you'd call an unconscious competent. Here's the thing, you don't need to be the smartest person in the room to make a lot of money. Actually, you can be pretty clueless and still earn a ton. I was a bit of a dim bulb, and I was pulling in cash. So when people say, you've got to be smart to make a lot of money, I know that's not true. I wasn't particularly bright, and I was still making money hand over fist. I've gotten a bit smarter since then because I've never stopped learning, diving deep into serious information. But back then, I didn't know much. This 1% makes 96% of all the money because they multiply their time by setting up multiple streams of income. They don't rely on just one source of income, they've got all kinds. I swear, I don't even know how many income streams I have. I'm not kidding, I really don't know. And honestly, I'm not that interested in knowing. I'm more interested in creating even more streams. I've got people managing them for me. I've got folks taking care of all kinds of stuff, and maybe you should think about doing the same. Look, we can show you how to turn your yearly income into your monthly income. I often say, the only reason someone is making $100,000 a year isn't because they want to make that much, it's because they don't know how to make $100,000 a month. It's all about mindset. You've got to get your head around this. Now, pay attention, this can happen by having multiple income sources. Wealthy people have always had multiple streams of income. Do your homework, look back in history. I've studied this stuff for a long time. Look at the ancient Babylonians, a super wealthy group of people back in biblical times. They got it, they knew the game. They had multiple streams of income. Our world is changing, and it's changing fast. And here's some news for you, it's not getting bigger, it's getting smaller. Seriously, the world's shrinking, and we're just hours away from anywhere. You're listening to me right now, you can set up businesses in multiple locations worldwide. I think I mentioned this before, I was sitting on a couch in a den in a house on Maplewood Lane in Glenview, Illinois, and I wrote down that I'd have a company operating all over the globe. And you know what? I've had to get a lot of help to make that happen. Back then, I was just sitting there alone on the couch, but now I've attracted some incredible people to work with. Everyone you see on this screen, they're top-notch. At any rate, Mikey called me because she knew this was a goal of mine since 1973. She said, "Bob, are you sitting down?" And funny enough, I had just stood up. She goes, "I just heard from Betty, we're in every country in the world. I've mentioned this before, but there are around 180 countries. We were in over 200 places. Some of them, like Guam, aren't technically countries, but still. Think about it, money is drawn to me. And that's not just about me, that's something I want you to get too. I want you to repeat after me, money is drawn to me. Say it out loud right now. Money is drawn to me. Money is drawn to me. Now, maybe there's a little voice in your head saying, I don't think that's a good thing to say. But trust me, it's a great thing to say. Money is a tool, and you can do a lot more good with it than without it. So start saying it now, money is drawn to me. I've got another affirmation for you. I'm so happy and grateful now that money comes to me in increasing quantities through multiple sources on a continuous basis. Say it again, I'm so happy and grateful now that money comes to me in increasing quantities through multiple sources on a continuous basis. Look, you can set up streams of income all over the globe. There's never been a better time to connect with people you're meeting on this call. If you're chatting with them, and I'm sure some of you are, you can network with someone on the other side of the world. You could become an affiliate of theirs, or they could become one of yours. The group we've attracted here is incredible. There are 55,500 people signed up for this program, that's a lot of connections. Just by being connected with us, you're linked to them too. You can keep setting up income streams worldwide without ever leaving your home. There's no limit to how many you can have. You can have an infinite number of them. There's no lack, no shortage. You are the highest form of creation. These are all income streams. Are they all the same size? It might look like it, but no, they're not. Some will grow big, and some will stay small. But take a good look at it. Watch it closely because there's a common thread, they all flow into your bank account. Some will be big, and some will be small, coming from different parts of the world in various currencies. But your bank will convert them all into the currency you use. It's a brilliant concept. Here's a challenge for you, set a target for the next 30 days. Aim to set up 1, 2, maybe 3 new income streams. Focus on this and really make it work. There's no limit to what you can achieve. Once you get into this mindset, you'll start attracting opportunities everywhere you go. If you stay close to us at the Millionaire Mindset, we pride ourselves on bringing creative minds together to build successful businesses that not only help themselves but help thousands of others too. That's what it's all about. Now, look at this slide for a moment. Your mind is what sets you apart from all other life forms. Money is the most accurate tool for measuring your growth. I'm always checking what I'm earning because it tells me if I'm growing. So, here's what I want you to do. Make a decision, a committed one, and then discipline yourself. Give yourself a command and follow it. And if you come this far, it's because you are at the 1% that will be committed to this goal, so let me know in the comments below. Right, money is drawn to me. Stay safe, stay wealthy, see you soon.